You open your refrigerator. You pull out leftovers. You microwave them for 90 seconds. You never think about fire. But without what happened next, you would not exist. Not your thoughts. Not your language. Not the size of your brain inside your skull. 300,000 years ago, there was no you. There was something that looked like you. It walked on two legs. It had hands and eyes and fear. But its brain was smaller. Its day ended when the sun went down. Its food was raw, tough, and barely enough. Then something happened. Something that turned a frightened animal into the species that would one day microwave leftovers without a second thought. This is not the story you learned in school. This is not about Prometheus stealing fire from the gods. This is about something stranger. Something that took hundreds of thousands of years. Something that is still happening inside your body right now. Everyone knows that humans discovered fire. Everyone knows that this was important. You have seen the paintings. Cavemen rubbing sticks. Sparks flying. The sudden mastery of nature. But something does not add up. Because fire is not like other tools. A stone stays where you leave it. A spear waits until you need it. But fire dies. Fire escapes. Fire burns the hand that feeds it. So the real question is not how we started fires. The real question is how we kept them. In 2014, archaeologist Francesco Berna from Simon Fraser University published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. He was not looking for fire. He was looking at ash. Specifically, he was examining sediment from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. The cave is deep. The cave is old. The cave has been sheltering creatures for 2 million years. Berna collected samples from 1 million years ago. He used a technique called Fourier transform infrared microspectroscopy. This allowed him to identify burned bone fragments. Not just burned at temperatures too high for wildfires. Burned in a controlled way. The bones were inside the cave. Deep inside. Far from any natural lightning strike. Far from any surface brush fire. This meant something impossible. Someone carried fire inside. 1 million years ago. Not just used it. Kept it. Protected it. Fed it. This is not the story of discovery. This is the story of commitment. Because here's what nobody explains. Wildfire is everywhere. Lightning strikes Earth 100 times every single second. Dry grass burns. Forests burn. Fire has always been available to any animal brave enough to approach it. But only one species decided to bring it home. Only one species looked at destruction and saw dinner. In 2009, anthropologist Richard Wrangham from Harvard University published his book Catching Fire. He had spent decades studying chimpanzees. He had watched them eat raw food for 6 to 8 hours every single day. He had calculated the energy. He had measured the effort. Then he looked at humans. Humans with cooked food. Humans with fire. And he found something that changed everything. Cooking increases the calories available from food. Not by 10%. Not by 20%. By 30 to 50%. For meat. For tubers. For everything. Your body spends enormous energy digesting raw food. Chewing alone can take hours. Your gut is long and complex because raw food is difficult to break down. But fire does the digesting outside your body. Fire is external digestion. Fire gives you energy you never earned. And energy is everything. Because energy is not just survival. Energy is brain. Your brain consumes 20% of your calories. Every thought, every memory, every word you are hearing right now. It all demands fuel. 2 million years ago, your ancestors had brains 1/3 the size of yours. By 300,000 years ago, that had changed. The brain had tripled, but the gut had shrunk. This is the most expensive trade in evolutionary history. More brain meant less digestion. More thought meant less chewing. But this trade only works with one condition. The food must be cooked. Raw food cannot support a large brain. Raw food cannot support language. Raw food cannot support sitting around wondering about your place in the universe. So the question becomes not when did we start fires, but when did we become dependent on them? In 2015, a team led by Dr. Rachel Carmody at Harvard Medical School ran an extraordinary experiment. They fed mice raw food. They fed mice cooked food. Same ingredients. Same calories on paper. But the mice on cooked food gained significantly more weight. Their bodies absorbed more energy. They extracted more from every bite. Then the researchers went further. They fed humans raw and cooked food. They measured the energy in the food going in. They measured what came out. The results were published in the American Journal of Physical Anthropology. Cooked food delivered more usable calories. Every single time. Your body is literally less efficient with raw food. You are designed for fire. But this was only half the story. Because something else happens when you cook. Something that has nothing to do with calories. In 2017, researchers at the University of California, Santa Cruz, led by Dr. Katie Hind, began studying what they called the social brain hypothesis. But they added a twist. They were not looking at primates in trees. They were looking at primates around fire. They found that fire extends the day. Natural light ends. Darkness falls. Most animals disappear into shelters. But humans with fire stay awake. They stay together. They talk. They tell stories. They teach. The fire creates a circle of light in the darkness. Inside that circle, something new happens. Social bonds form. Knowledge transfers. Children learn while adults talk. The fire is not just cooking food. The fire is cooking culture. But the strangest part was still hidden. Because fire does something to your brain that has nothing to do with calories or conversation. Fire lowers your alertness. Fire hypnotizes. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner from the University of Utah published a study based on decades of fieldwork with the Jew/Hoansi people of Namibia and Botswana. These are among the last traditional hunter-gatherers. Wiesner recorded their conversations. She divided them by time of day. Daylight conversations were practical. They were about resources. They were about logistics. They were short. But night conversations around fire were different. 80% of stories were told after dark. These stories were not about today. They were about yesterday. They were about ancestors. They were about meaning and morality and the shape of the world. The fire created a space for imagination. The fire created a space for religion. The fire created a space for you. But the most surprising discovery came later. In 2020, a team at the University of Toronto led by Dr. Daniel Fessler began studying what they called the deep history of human sleep. They found something impossible. Human sleep is different from every other primate. We sleep less, but we sleep deeper. We have more REM sleep, the dreaming sleep, the sleep that consolidates memory and builds emotion. And this change aligns exactly with the archaeological record of fire control. Fire allowed humans to sleep on the ground. Other primates sleep in trees. They stay partially alert all night. They never fully rest. But humans with fire could relax. The fire kept predators away. The fire kept us warm. The fire let us dream. And dreaming is where memory becomes story, where experience becomes meaning, where the self is constructed. You are not just a brain that grew large. You are a brain that learned to dream. And that required fire. So now we must ask the impossible question. What were we before fire? The answer is uncomfortable. We were not quite human. In 2016, geneticists at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology completed the full sequence of Neanderthal DNA. They compared it to modern humans. They found something shocking. Neanderthals had fire. They had cooked food. They had large brains. They had language, probably. They had everything that was supposed to make us special. And they're extinct. So fire was not enough. Something else happened. Something that happened to us and not to them. In 2018, archaeologist Dennis Sangaith published a controversial paper in Current Anthropology. He argued that Neanderthals could not make fire. They could keep it. They could use it. But when it went out, they could not start it again. They were dependent on natural sources. Lightning strikes. Wildfires. They were fire users, but not fire masters. Modern humans were different. Somewhere around 400,000 years ago, we learned to make fire. Not just keep it. Create it. This changed everything. Because creation means independence. Creation means planning. Creation means carrying the knowledge in your head, not just in your hands. You thought the important moment was when we discovered fire. But the real reason you exist is when we learned to make it. This is the difference between animal and human. Not using tools. Making tools. Not using fire. Making fire. The archaeologist Sangaith found evidence at Pestelez in France. Neanderthal sites showed intense fire use during warm periods when wildfires were common. But during cold periods, when fire was most needed, the evidence disappeared. They could not make it when it mattered most. Modern human sites showed the opposite pattern. Fire when we wanted it. Fire where we needed it. Fire as a choice, not an accident. This is the moment that built your brain. Not the first flame, but the first intentional flame. The flame that required planning. The flame that required teaching. The flame that created the first generation gap. Parents who knew. Children who learned. Knowledge that accumulated. Culture that grew. But we are not finished. Because fire did one more thing. Something that is burning inside you right now. In 2021, researchers at the University of Alabama published a study in the journal Evolutionary Anthropology. They measured the energy cost of human digestion. They found that cooking does not just add calories. It changes the chemistry of food. It creates new molecules. It destroys toxins. It makes meat safe. It makes tubers edible. Without fire, the human diet is tiny. With fire, the human diet is infinite. This is the expansion that built your brain. But it also built something else. Your dependence. You cannot go back. Your gut is too small. Your brain is too large. Your sleep is too deep. You are a fire creature pretending to be natural. Every restaurant you enter, every stove you light, every warm room you enter, you are continuing a contract signed 500,000 years ago. A contract that says we will keep the flame alive, and the flame will keep us human. So what does this mean for you? It means your restlessness at night is ancient. It means your craving for warm food is not habit. It means your need to gather, to talk, to stare into flames is written in your nerves. The campfire is not nostalgia. The campfire is your brain's natural habitat. The orange light, the crackling sound, the circle of faces. This is where you were made. This is where you became possible. And here is what changes everything. We think of technology as new. We think of screens and silicon as the revolution. But the first technology was fire. And fire was not just tool. Fire was companion. Fire was the first thing we made that made us. Every technology since has followed this pattern. The wheel, the book, the internet. We make something. It changes us. We become something new. Then we make something else. Fire was the first. And fire is still inside you. Not metaphorically. Literally. Your metabolism runs on cooked food. Your brain runs on saved energy. Your society runs on extended evenings. Your self runs on stories told in the dark. You are the child of flame. And the flame is still burning. So the next time you light a candle, the next time you sit by a fire, the next time you feel that strange peace watching flames dance, remember what you are seeing. You are seeing yourself being made. Over and over. Every night for 500,000 years. The fire that cooks. The fire that gathers. The fire that dreams. It is still here. It is still you. And maybe the problem was never that we needed technology. Maybe the problem was thinking we ever had a choice. Maybe we were always going to be the species that looked at destruction and saw dinner. The species that looked at darkness and saw time. The species that looked at burning wood and saw ourselves. The fire is not in your past. The fire is in your blood. In your brain. In the way you see the world. And it will be there when you close your eyes tonight. Still burning. Still making you possible. Still waiting for you to notice what you have become.